Hey everyone, it's Tori from Calypso Creative Planning, and for today's video we're going to be doing a tutorial in Procreate. So I'm going to be going over pretty much like the basics of Procreate just to get you started, because I had someone say that they were looking for Procreate tutorials so that they can use it for digital planning stuff like this, but that most tutorials were about, creating works of art, and that's not really what they wanted to do, but they still wanted to use the apps. So I'm going to go over like where everything is and how to use most of the basic tools that you would use for creating like extras like this, so that you can just, customize your planner spreads and get a little more creative with your digital planning. So stay tuned. Okay, so first off with this video, I want to say I'm testing out a new video setup, so I hope the lighting is working right and everything looks okay and you can see things pretty well. So I tried to like plan ahead as to like what all I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I, made me some little notes here. But I'm not going to cover everything there is to know about Procreate, just because, I mean, that's a lot. You can do a lot with Procreate, and we're not going to get into every possible thing, because that would just take too long, and that would be like a full-blown course. And unless you guys want that, I'm not going to do it for this one. So basically, I just want to give you guys the general basics of Procreate so that you know like where the main tools are and how to do certain things. Maybe some phrases that you've heard like clipping mask and alpha lock and Gaussian blur and things like that you may have heard people say but really don't know what they are, so that you can do stuff like this. Like this is a dashboard sticker that I used, and I customized it using part of like a page template and added some shadows and, blurred some things. And then I put it in my planner over here. So that's basically where I want to get you to. So you can do stuff like this, get creative. And I've been told by more than one person that I can go a little fast. So I'm going to try not to do that, but at the same time, I don't want to go too long and like bore you guys where you don't want to actually like watch it. So there is a feature on YouTube where you can slow down the playback speed. It's going to make my voice sound weird. So like if you do that, like don't laugh at me. I mean, you can. I don't really care. It's fine. I've done it and I've listened and it's really actually funny. But you can slow down the playback speed if that helps. Or you can like, pause and rewind and play a certain part again. I'm going to do my best to put timestamps on this video for most things. I'll probably miss something. I'm sure I will. But that way you can skip around and come back to certain parts. But yeah, okay. Let's see. Let's try to figure out where I'm going to start. So this is where we're starting. This is your gallery view in Procreate. So this is where every piece of art that you create is going to end up here in like just in your gallery. So everything that you've done, unless you delete it, shows up here. So you can see that I've kind of customized some stuff here. These are called stacks. So if, let's see, let's go to something you guys might recognize. Okay, let's do the fall collage sticker. So the reason why this looks like this is because I created a little kind of like a cover image for this stack. And inside I've got the different images that I worked on. So what a stack is where you choose multiple drawings and literally you just like stack them together. So if you have like multiple things that you're working on, like mini calendars here, this is where I've customized some of my mini calendars to match spreads. So I chose to stack them together so I can kind of organize my Procreate. I totally almost said GoodNotes, but I mean, I don't know why you guys needed to know that. But so a stack is really helpful if you have multiple things in like a certain project, or, you know, like little clip art things that you're drawing, or just things that kind of like go together that you want to organize in a way that, you know, you want them to all be together. So that's why you see some of these that look different. The way you do a stack is this button up here. You can say select, and you can choose multiple things and then say stack and see how it stacks them all together. I'm going to hit the X so I'm done. You can name the stack if you want to. So I can say fall quotes. Sure. I don't know. I'm just kind of like doing this on the fly here. But see, there you go. They're all stacked. And if I click it, you can see these individually. Let's see. Another fun thing about Procreate, and it doesn't matter if you're in a stack or in here, if you want to look at a piece of art that you've done, or, you know, a little quote thing, I guess I could stay in here, but without actually opening it, if you pinch it, like, you know, just like that. Oh, it's not pinching. That's, I don't know, flick it? I don't know. I don't know what you call that. But that allows you to just kind of like scroll through the stuff in there. And then you can, that's a pinch. You can just kind of to go back. So like if I go here, I can do that. And then it allows me to scroll through these little stickers that I did. So that's one thing where you can see it without actually opening it. What else? Okay, so we talked about select. If you select things, you can preview, share, duplicate, or delete. So you can, like, you know, select multiple things at a time for that. Import. This allows you to import from somewhere other than like your camera roll. So this is pulling from Dropbox. So if I wanted to import something from Dropbox, I could click it and it's gonna open it up into a new thing. I don't know why that's crooked. It's my desk, by the way. And then once it opens, you can edit it and do stuff to it. So that is import. If you're in this view, if you click gallery, you go back out. So now you can see that that photo is there. So import allows you to pull in files or photos or anything like that from a separate location from your photo gallery, camera roll, whatever it's called. And then photo allows you to pull from your camera roll. As you can see, most of mine are book covers. But that's what photo does. And it does the same thing. It'll open it up as a new drawing. And then this little plus sign here, this is where you do a canvas. So if you're wanting to start from scratch, not from a photo or an imported document, you can import Procreate files through that. You can import Photoshop files to some extent in here. I don't know what all else you can do. But those are the main ones. So this is the new canvas button. So when you do this, yours is going to look different than mine. But it's going to come in with some like square and screen size. Those are probably going to be preloaded on everyone's. So you can choose one of those and get started right away and go with whatever settings are done. These are some that I've already created and edited, which, you know, you can do that. If you don't want to go with like a pre-made one, you can create one on your own. So to do that, you hit this little button And this is where you can set your width and your height, your DPI, and then your layers are going to be determined automatically depending on like the size. So if you did 3600 by 3600 at 300 DPI on this particular iPad, because it does matter what version of iPad you're on, and the size, not size like physical size, but like your storage size, the power of your iPad, that will play into this to some extent. Don't ask me what extent, because I have no clue. I just know that if I were to use these same settings on an iPad that had like a terabyte of storage instead of, I think mine's like 256 or whatever that is, I know that there would be more layers available on that bigger size storage. So this will vary, but if you change your DPI or change your size, then your number of layers are going to change. Now, I mean, 37 layers, depending on what you're doing, I mean, that could be perfectly fine. But if you need more, you can always like merge layers to free up space, or, you know, change your size. Anything like that will affect that. So next, we've got color profile. This one is kind of like the widely accepted color profile for RGB. And for the most part, you're going to stick with RGB. That's pretty much for everything, whether it's digital or print. CMYK is print only. So if you start with RGB, you can still print it. It's a wider color spectrum. Now, I'm not an expert. Like, don't think I'm an expert on this. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not. This is just, I've seen so many like Skillshare classes and YouTube videos for Procreate tutorials that I've personally done with like drawing stuff that, you know, I've heard this over and over and over again. So, yeah. Display P3, this is a newer color profile that some machines will register and others won't. So I typically just leave mine here at this one. And then time-lapse settings. So if you don't know anything about the time-lapse settings or the time-lapse option for Procreate, let me just tell you, it's really fun. It's just fun because it, like the app, if you have it like turned on, which mine just stays on, it will kind of like record whatever you have going on in your drawing. Like, we're not talking about a screen recording where it records everything. It's just the drawing itself, and it will automatically record it, and you can play it back as a video, which can be really fun to, one, to just watch, and two, you can always share it in like a time-lapse video on social media. So that's fun. These are my current settings. You can play around with these and see what you want, but these are my current settings. And then canvas properties, I just leave this, but you can change the background color or have the background hidden. You can tap up here and name it. So like if you have certain settings that you want to use and, you know, you want to remember, like if you can name it and be like test canvas, whatever you want to call it. Like if it's for, you know, a sticker or a digital paper design or whatever you want, you can just name it so that when you hit create, it automatically just opens that up. But now in this list of canvases, it's going to be down here at the bottom. So every time you create a different size, it's going to show up here. And then you can swipe to edit or delete it. Or if you tap on it, it'll create a new drawing, a new document, a new canvas, whatever you want to call it, using that size. Now, if you've done this a bazillion times and didn't mean to, you can swipe and delete. You can also swipe and share or duplicate or anything like that, but that swipe feature is how you do those things. I feel like that pretty much covers everything on this part. So let's just jump right into your drawing. Now this is kind of in the way. There we go. this is where I was trying to make my little notes here about what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So get out of the way. All right, so let's see. Okay, so this is your canvas here. You can pinch to zoom. You can turn it so you don't have to turn your iPad. You can turn it to work on things. So if it's easier to draw, in one way versus the other. And like I said, pinch. Now, if you get it all crooked and weird and you want it to go back, if you pinch really hard like that, it just goes right back. So if you're like, you pinch and it just goes back. Very handy. Now, if you've played around with Procreate and you've customized some settings, yours may look different from mine. I will be honest, I have customized some things, but mostly they're just the same. They're default. So I'm just going to go over like what all this is. Like I said, this is your canvas. You set those sizes, all that. Over here, you've got your gallery button that takes you back out. This is your wrench tool, your little magic wand thing, selection. Now, these aren't necessarily the proper terms because this is actions, but everyone just calls it the wrench tool. And then adjustments, looks like a little magic wand. This is your selection. We'll get into these once we have some stuff on there. And then this is move. It's not going to move anything because we don't have anything drawn yet, but that's what that is. Over here, this is your size slider for your brush. So just for starting, I've got the brush chosen. So this is my slider. So this is my brush. If I were to bump this all the way up, then this is my brush. So that's your size slider. This is your opacity. Now I'm going to tell you, if you know you've picked a brush, you know you've picked a color, and you go to draw and nothing happens, check your opacity. Because this changes, how opaque it is. See how like that's the same exact pencil, but now it's like, a little see-through. I once was drawing and then all of a sudden, like my pen was not working. No matter what I did, I could not figure it out. I went to the Google, where people go to find things when they screw up, and realized that I had somehow accidentally put my opacity all the way down so you couldn't see anything. So if you lose your brush, check the opacity. That's what that is. Okay, I'm just gonna clear this. Well, I'll show you that later. So you've got your brush size. This is a little gesture control. You can change settings for this little guy. This is the opacity, and this is undo and redo. So if I were to draw, I can hit undo and I can hit redo. Undo is also a 2-finger tap, and I think 3-finger tap is, there you go. 3-finger tap is a redo. So I don't think I've ever used the 3-finger tap. I do use a 3-finger swipe, but not the tap, mainly because I forget that. But 2-finger tap, do that a lot. Also, I tend to do like that too, because it's just easier. I've seen people pull in this hand. That's just, I feel like I'm not quite that coordinated, but you can do it if you want to, Okay, so that's that. Now this guy here, okay, there's so many things you can do with this depending on your settings. Honestly, I could not tell you what the default setting is, but I can show you where to check that. This can be anywhere from like choosing colors, swapping assisted drawing. You can change all of that. Gesture controls is a big thing. Some people will like turn some on and turn some off, and it's a whole thing. It really can be up to you because some people have it turned on to where like you can draw with your finger. I turned that off because I kept messing things up. So I'll show you where that is. But let's look at, continuing along the top, this is your brushes. This is your brush library. This is your smudge tool. Looks like a little finger, for smudging. You can set your smudge tool to be any brush in the brush library. And the eraser, it's an eraser. You can set it to be any eraser, any brush in the brush library. I don't know what it automatically comes up as. It probably is like an airbrush or something. But you can set it to be anything. And then this is your layers. So you've got your background color, which you can tap and change. Oh, we'll get into color in a moment. But you can also turn it off. So like if you were doing like a sticker design and you didn't want a solid background, that you would turn your background off. And then this is your color. So this little circle shows whatever color you currently have selected. So that is that. Down here at the bottom, you'll see that you've got different little views for your colors. So you can do like a disk view that allows you to, change all of this, as well as see your history and your default color palette. And then you've got classic, which is, you've got sliders here, history, default palette, harmony. This allows you to choose your colors here. It can either be complementary, split complementary, analogous, triadic, and tetradic. Don't ask me to pronounce these things. Stop. I know I've laughed at people who pronounce these things wrong, but it's okay if you laugh at me. It's fine. But like you can choose, like this one is complementary. So if I change this one, it's going to choose the complementary color on this side. If I choose the split, then if you adjust one, it adjusts the others so that, you don't have to worry about what colors to use. It tells you if you want them to work. Analogous, I'm not saying these all over again because I'll screw it up. But there's that. We're just going to go back to this. That's your harmony. And then value, this is where you can mess with sliders, or if you have a hex code. If you've heard about a hex code, this is what determines what color it is. So like if I click this color, the hex code changes. If I click this color, the hex code changes. So for example, if you get like a sticker book, let's get out of the way. Go, shoot. Okay, so if you have a sticker book, here's hex codes. So if you have these numbers, then you can type those numbers in here, right there, and you'll get that color. So if that's how you make something be a specific color, like if you wanted to do a little doodle that matched one of these, that matches a certain sticker book or a certain sticker collection, then you can do that. Now look, I'm going to tell you a trick. If you don't want to memorize the number because you know that by the time you say the number in your head and you get to Procreate and you're like, nah, I have no idea what that number was, then you can always do this. You can say copy and go to Procreate. We're going to go to our wrench icon. This is actions, add, and say paste. So now it's in here. So if you want to choose this color, you don't have to memorize it. It is right there. Okay, done. And so now I've got this color and I can draw and write in that color. See, there's your trick, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not remembering that. I'm just not. So now one thing that you'll notice now, I pulled this image in and it created its own layer, but then when I started drawing, it drew on that layer too. So in your layers, you can, y'all, I'm being honest here, I'm just kind of winging this on what I'm teaching you. We're just going to work our way through. So, well, let's not get distracted by the layers yet. All right, color. We're on value. Okay, and then palettes. This is where you can create palettes or you can import palettes. Obviously, I've got a lot of palettes in here. So yours may look different than mine because I've installed a lot of palettes and I've created palettes. So like you may recognize this from my fall stuff. Obviously, I didn't name them. I think these came from like a Skillshare video or something. This is my Sweet Treats collection, so you can import them or create them. If you want to create one from scratch, you hit this little button right here and you can do create new palette, which it's going to bring in just like a blank thing. You can create it from your camera, from a file, or from photos. So if I do create new, then, it's blank. So how you would do that is you would, let's say, I'm going to choose this color and go to, well, this is my palette. See how it automatically pops up there? If it's got the check mark, that means it's default. So with this color up here, I can tap one of these grids and the color just goes right in there. So if I'm working on something like, let's say like this color, I could type that in and get it there, or I can go here and like make up, you know, my own colors. And this is that same one, because remember I said it's got the check mark, it's default, so I can stay here and tap there. See? So now it's all in the same one. Now if I wanted to make a palette from a photo, this is going to be wild because most of these are book covers. Okay, let's go with, no, this is just weird. Okay, let's pick, like I said, most of these are book covers because that's mainly what I use my camera roll for. Okay, let's pick this one. So this photo, by the way, is let's see, this one. This photo, if you haven't seen the show Fate, go watch it. That's what this is from. So I selected that photo, and this is the color palette it created automatically from that image. Now I can come in here and I can call this Fate. There you go. And there you go. Now I've named it, it's done, and it's automatically changed it to the default. You can click on these and say set to default, so it switches. You can click on this and say duplicate or delete. That's what those three little things are. This is the compact view. You can also use the card view, which is quite large. But, you know, you might like this. If you have like certain things, I think you can you name these? No, you can delete it. Oh, you can name it. So obviously I don't do this, but you can name these. So if you wanted to like match it or like put the hex code on there, you could totally do that. Like if I wanted to copy the hex code, I can go here and paste it. I mean, you could do that. I mean, that's kind of fun. So that's obviously not going to show up in your compact view, but in your card view, it would. So yeah, so that's something fun. See, obviously I don't use that, but you could. I saw somebody use this card view in a YouTube video the other day. So I mean you could, if you like seeing that bigger color, or if you were trying to, like, if you had them named, you know, like if you were doing stickers, if you were drawing out your own stickers and you wanted to be like, you know, background versus accent versus face. I don't know, I just made that up. But so you could do that there if you wanted. I'm gonna delete that for now. Delete. And I'm gonna make this default. And oh, my husband's calling me, so one moment, let me answer this. Okay, I know that wasn't a delay for you, but that was totally a delay for me. That was the hubby on the phone. He's picking up stuff for our anniversary dinner on Friday. Oh, well, I guess the day this comes out, it will be our anniversary. So we're doing an anniversary dinner. Not that you guys like cared. I don't know that you do, but okay. Where were we? Okay, so colors, palettes, blah, blah, blah. I think we're good on that. Next, let's look at layers because, you know, why not? It's right here. All right, so in your layers panel, you're probably it comes in with like one layer and then your background, okay? So you can add layers with this little button here, and you can just add a bunch of them. If it's blue, that means that's the layer that you have selected. And so if I were to click this layer and then click my brush and then just start drawing, that's on that layer. Now this layer, remember, is the image that we pulled in. You'll notice that when I drew on this layer, it's behind this image. That's because it's underneath it. If I were to select and drag this up, it becomes on top of it because your layers are a hierarchy. So if, you know, if it's on above it, then literally it's above it. I mean, that's kind of like self-explanatory, I guess, when I say that. If it's above, it's above. It sounds weird. You can swipe to lock a layer, which means you can't do anything on it. So if I go to draw, it's going to tell me this. So I can hit cancel or unlock or whatever. You can swipe to unlock. You can swipe to delete or duplicate. That's all right here. Now I will say this, that if you are drawing something and you duplicate a layer, from what I understand, that you shouldn't duplicate a duplicate because it, like, the quality goes down. So if I were to, like, let's say I'm going to duplicate this layer and we're going to put that on top. If I needed another one, they say don't duplicate the duplicate, duplicate the original, because with every duplicate it's going to degrade the quality a little. So, I mean, I don't know how much. I think that depends on your settings. I think that depends on like what you do, but it will, you know, get a little fuzzy around the edges, I guess. I'm going to, let's see. Okay, here's another thing. The little check marks, that's to turn it on and off. So if you know, temporarily need to hide the layer, you can do that. Let's see. Oh, you can click on it and get other options like rename, select, copy, fill layer. So let's see. So if I select this and say fill layer, it's going to fill with whatever color I have here. So if I fill layer, it does that. So if I tap again, I can say clear. Let's see. Alpha lock. I guess to show you that I need to draw something. So I'm going to turn these off and I'm just going to draw something just so that you can see something. Let's go up even bigger. Well, that didn't do much bigger. Okay, so with alpha lock, if I turn that on, then you see how it's got like this little background here? It's like a checkered background. What alpha lock means is that you are only drawing on the pixels that are already there. So to show you that, I'm going to change this color and it's alpha locked. So if I draw over here, you don't see anything because there aren't existing pixels in here. But if I come in here, I'm only drawing on whatever is already there. Okay, so that's alpha lock. Now, while we're talking about alpha lock, let's talk about clipping mask, because you may have also heard of that term. It works similar, but in a, how they say, a non-destructive way. So like by drawing on this in alpha lock, unless I undo, there's no way to go back to that purple that was there before. But if I did a layer above this and say clipping mask, then I'm going to switch colors so you guys see what I'm doing. Let's go with this one. So if I am on a clipping mask, you can see it puts this little arrow, and that means I can go over here and I can draw, and you see it shows up on the layer, but it's not, it doesn't show up on here because it's not on top of this. But if I were to continue this, you can see that now it comes over the top of it because it's clipped to that area. So if I turn this off, you can see here's all my scribblies. But if I do clipping mask, that means it's clipping to mask what, like this becomes like the area that you're working. So it's clipping just to that. So if you wanted to do something like this without actually messing up the original, use a clipping mask. But if you want to affect the original, you might want to use alpha lock. Because with the clipping mask, you can turn that off so you don't see it anymore. But with alpha lock, I mean, you drew on that. You can't turn that off. It's already there. You drew on it. Okay? So that's clipping mask. Now, I think you can also, yeah, so if you Swipe, quit. Is it a 2-finger? I think it's like a, yes, a 2-finger swipe will alpha lock. Damn it. Obviously, I don't do that very often. I'd rather just click it. But a swipe, like a 2-finger swipe, will alpha lock something. Or you can just tap it and go to alpha lock. So, okay, next let's look at mask. So if I say mask, I'm going to turn alpha lock off because we don't care about that. So if I say mask, it's going to create a layer mask here. And what that means is it's going to allow you to affect this in a non-destructive way by creating like a mask. I don't know how else to say that, but it only works in black and white. So whatever brush you choose, I'm going to turn this off so that's not confusing. So, oh, actually, let's leave that on. So if I'm in a layer mask and it's working on this, I'm at blackest black, okay? Blackest black. And on this layer, make sure you're on the mask, okay? So if I were to draw on here, it's masking out what is there, okay? That is your mask. Now, if you look at your layers, that stuff is still there. So if I turn off the mask, we still have the original layer. So that's another way where you can affect it without like screwing up the original. Now, let's say you did a little too much and you want to get it back, okay? If you switch this to white, okay, and come back in, then you can bring that back, you know, if you need a little more, right? So that is your mask. I hope that makes sense, right? So you can see I still have a little bit of area. You can clear that. So if you want to start fresh completely, but that's a good way to like clean up like pieces. So if I go back to black and then I'm like, oh, that's just a little too much there. Let's just take a little off the top. You know, I can come in and tweak it. Be like, oh, let's not do too much there. You know, does that make sense? You can do whatever. So that is a mask, okay? That's a layer mask. And I say you can turn that off. It doesn't affect the original. Bob Schrunkle, all that. Okay. Invert means you're inverting the colors. And then reference. Y'all, I'm going to be honest. I don't even know what reference means. I could look it up, but I don't know what it means. Obviously, I don't use it. I'm going to turn these off so that we can go back to this here. I'm going to show you something here. So the next thing is merge down. So that means you're merging multiple layers. You can undo, obviously. But so if you start running out of layers, and let's say you've got, you know, this on this layer, and then this on this layer, and this on this layer. So you can merge down one at a time. So it's like merge down, or you can pinch and merge that way. So I'm going to show you that again. You can, well, let's not show it weird. Seriously? I don't know why the preview is like that. Oh, perfect time to be weird in a video. Okay, so you can pinch very carefully. You don't want to like pinch too many layers. But there you go. Now it's all one layer instead of individual. So if you're drawing a bunch of stuff and you start running out of layers, you can merge layers and, you know, it takes up less room. Another thing you can do, like let's say we've got this that we've been working on, you can select more than one and you can hit group. So now there's a group, you can name that and you can turn off the whole group if you want to. So you can have everything on here looking all confusing, or you can turn off bits and pieces. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to do, let's do another layer here, and I'm just gonna draw, I don't know what I'm gonna draw. I'm just want to be able to show you something. Okay, so I'm just drawing this big blob of color here on top of these lines, because you guys know that these lines are here. And we are going to take a look at blend modes. So on your layers, you see this little N right there? That stands for normal. And you can click it and you get these other options. So you can come up here and adjust the opacity, because you guys saw those lines are behind it. So you can adjust the opacity if you want. And then this is your blend mode. So we're on normal. Each one's going to do something different. So multiply, you got darken, color burn, which is kind of makes that one disappear. Linear burn, so you can see how the color changes. Darken color, lighten, screen, color dodge, add, lighten. So you can like play around with things like this to just get different effects. See? That's just weird. So that's just, see, it changed the saturation on that one. Color, it changes the color of it. So these are your blend modes. So play around with those, have some fun. Just can create all kinds of stuff with that. All right. So next up, since the eraser and the smudge all has to do with brushes, let's look at brushes next. So yours is going to look vastly different from mine, because I have a shit ton of brushes that I've purchased or created and or got from like a Skillshare class or something. So yours is going to look different. You do have a recents thing at the top. So this is ones that you have used, obviously most recent. And see this little star up here? That means I've added it to a favorites. That's a new thing. They didn't used to have that. They also didn't used to have recents either. But if you click on, let's go to Fall Halloween. This is from a Skillshare class. So let's turn this off. We're going to do a new one. So if I choose this one, and we're going to choose a different one. So all you have to do is tap on it to choose it. And that's the brush that you're using. If you tap twice, it's going to bring this up, which is the brush studio, where you can adjust things. If you're new to Procreate, I don't suggest you adjust anything, because you don't want to screw it up. So if you do want to adjust one, swipe and duplicate it to make those adjustments. That way you have that original and you don't mess it up. But you just select it to choose what you want to do. So if I choose this, then you see how I get this look, which is really fun, by the way. Or if I choose splatter, this is a stamp brush, so I can just tap and it stamps the splatter, which, I mean, come on, that's fun. And let's see if I remember. I think it's 3 fingers. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so 3 fingers, and you just kind of like you're wiping it. It's going to clear it all. I don't use that very much, but I figured you might want to know that. So these are like different brushes will give you different looks, and they act differently, so you can do whatever. You can change up your brushes. Let's see, change up your colors, draw on top of it. That's fun. And then let's see, so some of these that are built into Procreate, that's going to be these down here. So that would be sketching and inking, drawing. So these are things that, that if you've messed with Procreate, then this is probably what you've seen, what you have to work with. And you can make a brush or add brushes with this. So this is like if you wanted to make a brush. If you want to import a brush, like let's say you have, oh gosh, I don't even know. Just like testing my memory here. If you've downloaded a brush set, like I've got this one. No, stop it. Let's see. I'm just gonna, this is a long way around for all of this, but I'm just gonna pick something that I know. Let's go to, okay, so if you want to, you can do a side-by-side of Procreate, and if you have a brush set, like this is my Dropbox, you can click and just like drag it into Procreate and it'll automatically import it. You can do the same thing with palettes too. So let's see. So now I've imported it and I think it'll go at the top. Yeah, so now you can see that this brush set automatically comes in and is at the top. This is a really good brush set and it's free, by the way. This is from Taddyworks. If you don't know who Taddyworks is, go find her stuff. I'll try to remember to put a link in there. But so now I have these brushes and they're imported in and I can just click and there you go. Now I have brushes. I have a new brush. So see? Same thing works for palettes or swatches. If I just drag this in, then it's going to come in. I think the palettes go to the bottom. Yeah, so see how that came to the bottom? Now you can press it and like move it if you wanted to, if it's not going to be tricky. And just drop that there. So now we're getting all into stuff here. And this is a, well, while we're in here, this is a paper texture. I'm going to pull that in there. There you go. This will be another fun way where you can see blend modes. So this is our paper texture here. And we've got these images that or this little drawing that we've already talked about. If I change the blend mode here, you can see that it, well, maybe that's not a good example. Let's do a new layer. I'm going to move this down here, turn that off. And I'm just going to pick this. Okay, so now you can see, let's zoom in. So this is without the blend mode and the paper texture, and this is with the blend mode and the paper texture. So if I change this, you can see the change happening here. So like that's normal. And then, so you can play around and see what looks best based on like what you're trying to do. A lot of times if you have like a paper texture, then multiply is going to be the way to go. And then you can adjust like the opacity so you can see that. I hope that helps. I'm really just trying to think of everything to throw at you guys. All right, let's see. So brushes, you've got lots and lots of brushes. Let's go back down to the basics. So if you don't install any brushes and you just go with what Procreate has, you've got, tons of stuff in here that you can do stuff with. Some of them you can see that, the more you go over an area, it, kind of like takes it out and you can't see it as much. So just like different brushes do different things, but those are your brushes. Now for, let's see, let's go back to, I'm just going to pick this one. Okay. All right. So here's this brush. Now, smudge tool, it works like, okay, if I have my brush selected and I want to use that same exact brush for a smudge, with the brush selected, if you tap and hold, it says using the current brush. So now if I go to smudge, it's that same brush and I can change the size. And I can, tap to smudge. I can really smudge. I mean, smudging is cool. Depending on what you're wanting. Like if you want to just go with a basic smudge. You can do a soft brush. Did I select that? Or a hard brush. And you're smudging. It's like you're pushing things around with your finger. So if you're going from inside, you're pushing around the color. If you go from the outside, you're pulling in white. And you don't want to just like keep going, because then it's probably not going to give you the look you want. But if you just like tap, and you can change this to be anything, like if I go to a soft, see how that just kind of softens that up a little bit. So that is your smudge tool. Honestly, that's just really fun. Okay, so the eraser, it works the same way as if you have a brush tool selected and you press and hold, it gets your current brush as the eraser. See? That's the current brush. Or you can go in here manually and choose, let's see, choose brush pen. And that is your eraser. So it's like a full-on stark eraser. But I mean, that's pretty much basic for your brushes. You can swipe to do things with them. You can, you know, duplicate, delete, share, whatever. If you're going to edit a brush and you don't want to mess it up, duplicate it. And then you see how it added a little 1 beside it. Because you don't want to accidentally screw up a brush. Because then you may not remember the settings, but like if I come in to edit this one, you can change like spacing, jitter. So like you can get like really different looks. So like you saw what that brush did. Now if I come back in with this new one, this is what it does. So, I mean, that's fun for making your own brushes, which is really cool. Like, if you want it is like hair gone wild or whatever for that one. So, yeah. So, if you're going to edit it, duplicate the first brush. You don't want to, like, mess up the original. But, yeah, that's, and if it's a stamp brush like this, I think I said that for something else. But if it's a stamp brush, then like 1 tap gives you the brush. Okay, and you just keep going. Now, if you were to keep going like this and draw, like it doesn't work the same way because it's a stamp. So keep that in mind if you're using stamp brushes. And y'all, I don't know how long this video is going, but I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep going. Over here, you've got actions. Under add, this is where you insert a file. So that would be like something from Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive, anything like that. Insert a photo means it's coming from your camera roll, and then take a photo means it's using the photo on your iPad. And then add text. So when you go to add text, it's going to automatically do that color unless you change it. You can change like your font and like your spacing and, you know, all this kind of stuff. You can do outline, all caps, choose, you know, change fonts, just do all kinds of stuff. So that is your text. And then cut, copy canvas, paste. Those are all things that are there. So cut means that you're cutting that layer. Okay, it's gone, it's cut. And then you can paste it and it comes right back. And, you know, there it is. That's, you know, that's your usual thing. Now, if you do copy canvas, that it's copying everything. But regular cut and copy, that's going to be whatever layer you have selected. So if I were to select this and say cut, then it's cutting that one layer. Okay. Let's see. And then you've got canvas. Y'all, this video might be getting too long. I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to split this up. Okay, so, all right, so you got canvas. Under canvas, this is where you can crop and resize. And you can do like settings if you want it to be a certain thing. So that's where that is. Animation assist, we're not going to get into animation or page assist. We're just not going to get into those. So drawing guide, if you turn that on, you can do edit drawing guide. This is where you can do a 2D grid or isometric perspective, which means you're like setting a vanishing point and like doing all those things. Or symmetry is where you can do horizontal symmetry, where if you draw on one side, it copies it to the other, or horizontal copies it top and bottom. Quadrant, it's, well, I mean, literally it's, you would draw here and it mimics it all the way around. Radial, same thing, except you got a little more. And then you would toggle on assisted drawing for that one. Same thing with 2D grid and like isometric and perspective. If you do assisted drawing, then, well, you can adjust opacity, thickness of your grid, the color of your grid. So like you can change the color here so that it makes sense for whatever you're working on. Done. I'm going to clear this layer. All right, so you can see this says assisted now, and we did 2D grid. So that means that if I come in here and, oh, we're just going to pull this. Okay, if I come in here, it's only going to draw in straight lines because I have, like, I can draw wherever and it's only going to be straight lines. So if I do clear, go back to my edit drawing guide. If I were to do symmetry, and let's change this to quadrant. Done. Oh, did I change that? No. Okay. Done. If I draw something here, it's going to show up everywhere else. Okay. So you can do like, you know, things. That's fun. I mean, not that in particular because that's kind of weird. But so that is your symmetry. Now, if I were to do, let's see, if I were to do vertical, okay, and I'm going to clear this, then whatever I draw on this side is going to show up on the other side. I don't know what I'm drawing, but apparently it's some stained glass window or something. So that is your drawing guide. Reference means that it's going to pull up. You can either do it to where it's like you're drawing as a reference. So like if you're zoomed in here, you can still see, you know, your whole thing. And you can, you know, move that around, or you can do an image and pull an image from, you know, here. And so like if you wanted to press and hold to get colors, so like if you wanted this color, now you have this color. Press and hold, you get this color, you know. And that is that's your reference, and you can move that around and you can get rid of it. You can do a face. Oh, we're not seeing my face, but like if you wanted to draw something on a face, I don't know, it's kind of weird to me, but you can do that. You can also import. So if you have something on like Dropbox or someplace like that, you can pull that in. Let's see. I don't know what that is. That's just weird. You can also turn off drawing assist. So if you wanted to draw something that was only on this side and then turn it back on, and now you want to, you know, continue with your weirdness. I don't know what this is, but there you go. Wow, it's a lot in this video, you guys. Flipping, obviously you're flipping. And then canvas information, this is where you can name it, you can sign it, date it, dimensions, so you can see, you know, what you have it set. Layers, this is where you can see like your total maximum layers, how many you've used, how many you have left, what's assisted, all these things. Your color profile, your video settings, statistics. So statistics, oh, this says I've been going for 45 minutes. Oh my gosh, are you guys going to hate me? Hope you don't hate me. All right, so that's your canvas. See, share, this is where you share your file either as like Procreate or picture or whatever. Just remember that if you're saving it as a PNG and you want that transparent background, to turn off that background. I don't know why we're so obsessed with this layer, but so if you were to share it as a PNG now, that background wouldn't be there. Now, there's a difference between sharing your image and sharing your layers. So let's see, to give you an example, if I go to here, I have like these little doodles here. This was in my fall collage sticker book in one of them. And they're each on different layers. I actually have groups of layers in here. So if I have like, these are my, let's open that up. So these are on different layers. If I wanted to turn these into individual stickers, then what I would do is I would come in here, turn off the background, so it's PNG, come in here and say, share layers as PNG files. And then what it's going to do is it's going to export each of those layers individually. Let's see what it shows you. So see 10 images. So it's going to export those each individually. You still have to go in and like crop them down to where you need to be. But if you're using like Affinity Photo, you can just tell it to like clip the canvas and it just clips it out. And so you just have it without doing it like manually. But that's what that is. That's sharing layers versus the overall image. Let's see, video. Let's go back to our weirdness. So video, this is where you can look at your time lapse. So this is where it's turned on for your time lapse recording. If I go to time lapse, you can see this is what we've been doing this whole time, and it's just been recording it. So you can save this as a video to share on social media or anything like that. But it just exports it. It's so weird to see what we've been doing. But you can come in here and say export time-lapse video and do that. Preferences, this is where you can change, like you can do a dark interface, light interface, change your preferences. You can turn off the brush cursor, which means like if I were to draw, let me turn this off so you can see how you don't see anything around my brush. I'm just drawing, right? So if I turn on the brush cursor, you can see this outline. Maybe that's not the best brush to show this. Let's do just drawing. Okay. Maybe switch to a lighter color. I just want you guys to be able to see this. Okay, so you see that little guy right there? That is your brush outline. There you go. Oh, that's much better. See, that's your brush outline. So you can see where it's going. So that is what that is. I don't really mess with too much of this, but, you know, I don't know what that means. But pressure and smoothing, this is where you can adjust your pressure settings if it's not quite right. Gesture controls, if you're not sure, just set everything to default. But if you want to look around and mess with this, like I've got my touch actions disabled because I don't want to accidentally, you know, draw. But I will say that sometimes I might turn that off. So for certain brushes, like, let's see, let's look at, I'm going to give you guys a good example. Okay, so like this one, this is a scrap paper set from, oh no, let's look at the Note and Papers. So this is from Bellanora, and some of these things, like if I do, let's see, let's clear. Okay, so for this, like if I tap with my brush, I get the opacity setting is different based on like the pressure. But if I were to tap with my finger, it's the same every time. So some of those brushes, like unless you want to tap hard every time, that might be something that's really helpful to adjust, like when you know that it's a brush like that, to turn on the touch settings, but most of the time I leave that off. I'll show you what my current settings are if you want to copy them, but you know, don't say that this is the rule. I'll just hold here so you can see what I have and see what you want there. That reminded me of the 3-finger swipe. I need to show you that. So, see this? Quick menu. Obviously, I don't even use the quick menu. Quick shape. Oh, I need to show you quick shape. Okay. Eyedropper, I have set up to where if I touch and hold, it's the eyedropper. Assisted drawing. I have my that little square button turned on for that. And then, let's see. But those are just my settings. So, those things that I wanted to mention. I'm going to clear this, and we're going to go back to recents. These are, oh, that reminds me. Okay, if you have a brush that you really love, then you can swipe and say pin it, and it will show up as your favorites right there. But I think that only works if it's in your recents. Like if you recently used it, you can pin it or unpin, and that gives you the star, so it shows up at the top. So, all right, so tap and hold. I mean, not tap and hold. What the? I don't know what that is. Okay. I'm going to turn off my drawing guide. So, not tap and hold, but like press and hold. If you, for your shapes, if you are drawing and you want it to be like a straight line, if you press and hold, you get an actual shape and you can hit edit and adjust it. So if I wanted a straight line, like I didn't let go at the end of drawing, and I can say edit shape and you get these little grips, or it can be an arc, you know, because it read my weirdness. So if you did like a circle, if you hold, you can do edit shape and make it a legit circle. So that is press and hold. And then the other thing that I mentioned, 3-finger swipe, you get your copy and paste thing. So that's really handy if, like, let's say, oh, let go. Let's say, one way I use this a lot is I might come in here to this and say copy. And then go back to Procreate, 3-finger swipe, and say paste. And now it's in here. So when it came in, it's on its own layer. So, you know, that's your 3-finger swipe there. I guess that's, well, help, but, you know, that's help. Adjustments, this is where you can adjust hue and saturation, brightness, color balance, all these things. I won't go through all of these because that's just kind of a lot. But I will say, let's look at, let's see, this will be a good one. Okay, so if I go to adjustments and go to hue, saturation, oh, cancel, good point. Make sure you're on the layer. And go here, hue, saturation, brightness. I can change the hue here. And, oh, it's just all funky no matter what. Change the saturation. And change the brightness. Go back. Okay, so this does like the whole layer, okay? Now, if you wanted just parts of it, you could tap this and say pencil, and then it's going to go with whatever brush you have, and it's just going to change that for that area, which is like really crazy. So you can play around with that, and I'm just going to tap out, undo. Okay. And then color balance, that's, you know, that's where you can adjust, you know, individual things, individual parts of that. And then you can also do the pencil on that one too. It used to be like a swipe to get the pencil, but now it's up here. I don't know when they changed that, but they did. And then one that I know that you've heard a lot about and may not know about is Gaussian blur. Okay, so if you slide your pencil across the screen, it's going to change up here. So if you want like a little blur or a lot of blur, that's how you get some blurred shadows. That's what Gaussian blur is. Okay, and then you can play around with other things here. One thing you've probably heard a lot about is Liquify. So with this, you can like change all these different settings. So if I leave it on push, I'm going to up my size a little bit. I'm going to leave my distortion and momentum. But if I push, then I still have assisted drawing turned on. So if I turn that off and go to Liquify. So with push, I can come in here and like push things to mess with it. If I do momentum, then it's like you're adding a little more water to it. So like, see how it just keeps going? If I up it, see how it just keeps kind of like rolling? Like there's more water. You can also do like a twirl, which is fun. And if you up your momentum, then it's like really gonna twirl. So you can, you know, crystallize, you can adjust, you know, all of these things. Maybe not that. See how there's your little thing? Let's see, you know, you're crystallizing it, which is fun. So that's something. That's your Liquify. Next, this is your selection. So with selection, you have automatic, whereas like if I tap in this area, it's gonna like automatically select, or like freehand, which means I can do this to select an area, or rectangular. So obviously it's rectangular. And if I do ellipse, obviously ellipse. So if I were to do, let's see, not add. Okay, if I were to do freehand and just select this, you can see that like in the back, it's kind of got these little dashed lines here. You can, that shows you that that's not what's selected and this is what's selected. You can invert that so it selects the outside. But if you pair that with this button, that's the move, then I can come in here, we're going to change that to freeform. I can come in here and like adjust parts of this and rotate it. I can do warp to where I can just blah, 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 you know, do all kinds of stuff with it, you know, just folded it in on itself. I mean, that's kind of crazy, you know. Can get some really cool effects with that. But that's really crazy. I didn't realize I was going to go that crazy with that. But let's see. Let's go with something simple. Okay, so I have this. This is the layer I'm on. Always make sure you're on the right layer that you want. If there's nothing else on this layer and like I just want to move this, if I hit the select tool, I can just uniform it and move it or transform it like this. I've got snapping turned on, so that's where you can see how it snaps to things. You can rotate, fit to canvas, you know, stuff like that. If you wanted to do, like I'm going to tap out, if you wanted to do freeform and just do, stop, reset, let go, stop, select, sorry, freehand, and just do like, you wanted just that, then you can move and adjust this. You know, I'm just giving you an example. Like if you wanted to do that, then you could come in here with the eraser and erase part of it, you know, for a different look. You know, obviously that's not perfect, but that's on, you know, just giving you some examples of things that you can do with it. Gosh, this video is forever long. Okay, I guess hopefully that's it. If there's something else that you would like to see a more specific lesson on or specific video on, oh, wow, that was a lot. That was a lot, you guys. I'll put timestamps on here so that you don't have to like suffer through everything every time you want to know something. But welcome to my mess right there. Okay, wow, that was a lot. I don't know if you'll actually stick around for this. But yeah, if you have any questions about something specific that you would like to see, then let me know and I will make it happen. So it's not just like everything thrown at you all at one time. And, you know, you're left thinking, well, what was that? Oh my gosh. So, okay, I guess that's it. I know that was a lot. If you got all the way to here, then reach out to me with, you know, if you made it all the way to here, I'll give you a discount in my shop. But you got to tell me, like, you got to tell me that you made it all the way to here. And if you made it all the way to here, then I want you to comment down below with that exact thing, this right here. Comment down below with that, and I will give you a discount to my shop so that I know that you got all the way to here and you actually like paid attention to my video. Okay. I don't know if that'll work, but you know, whatever. Okay. Bye guys. I will see you in the next video. And seriously, if you want a smaller class on something specific with Procreate, let me know and I'll do it. And I won't make it last so long. At least this was free and not like, you know, charging you somewhere. So, all right. Bye.